it's Chris Eads, known online as Wootini, here with another Gay Gamer video podcast. I went to the movies. I finally was able to see Close, which is a French movie that will rip your heart out and show it to you as it crushes it in front of your face. I meant to bring tissues and forgot and regretted it. Thankfully, I still wear a mask in the movie theater, so the mask absorbs a lot of the tears, so that was fine. It's basically about these two young French boys who are like the best of friends, and they're like 12 or 13, and then school starts and they go to school, and of course, because it's, you know, teenagers, they look at these two boys and they're super, super close, and the girls assume that they're a couple, and they're like, no. And then it gets teased, and so, you know, the one boy tries to push the other one away because he doesn't want to get teased at school, and of course, things go south from there. From the trailer, I got the impression that there was a terrible tragedy that would occur, and sure enough, spoiler alert, there is a terrible tragedy. Many tears are shed. But I really liked it because there were scenes where you expect it to be like a normal, average movie where they're like, now we must have this conversation about this, and now we must talk about that. But like they don't. It's like more realistic that people, like, they're not talking, and there's all these dialogue-free scenes where they're just sort of staring at each other, and it's just sort of like, and it's uncomfortable, and then people just explode with grief, and it's much more realistic in that people aren't having the expected conversations to help tie the narrative up in a neat little bow, because that's not how life is, and it's sad, it's upsetting, and it's brutal, and just be forewarned, it's an excellent movie. I very much liked it, but it's not something I'm going to want to watch again because it's very upsetting. The woman in the row behind me was having a full-on experience, like sobbing uncontrollably for like the whole back half of the movie. It was bad. But seeing it in a theater full of people, like you can hear everyone sniffling and, you know, wiping their tears and stuff. So recommended, but with reservations because it is very depressing and sad. And as for games, I want to talk about the Nintendo Direct that just happened that I didn't know was happening until it was happening. But then I never watched them live anyway, because there's always a whole bunch of stuff I don't care about, so I just, like with all of these presentations, I just go back later and I go to their YouTube page and they have all the individual videos that I can watch without having to sit through the whole presentation. I can't get too excited for the Zelda sequel because, yes, I enjoyed Zelda, bought it when I bought my Switch, played the hell out of it, but eventually the breaking weapons got really irritating, and then it got really hard and difficult, and I just never finished it. And so it's hard for me to get excited to play a sequel to a game I never finished that I'm probably also not going to finish because it's probably going to get really hard and I'm going to get pissed at the breaking weapons again. We'll see. I don't know. It's a ways off. I was also excited for the fashion game. I was like, ooh, Style Savvy. It's not Style Savvy. Fashion Dreamer lost me as soon as they said, become a fashion influencer. They lost me with influencer. No. I want to run a little boutique where I can fill customer requests and dress them up in outfits that make them so excited that they sparkle. That's what I want. I want Style Savvy on the Switch. Easy sale. I would buy that day one. This, I don't care. I don't want to like dress up in an outfit and walk around and get likes. It's like, no, that's not appealing to me. I want to run a boutique. So yeah, no good. I was very excited for a Professor Layton game, except that the tease turned out to literally just be a tease. There was no trailer. It was just like, hey, we're working on a Professor Layton game. We'll tell you nothing about it, just that it's a Professor Layton game. But I guess it's okay because it's a Professor Layton game. Like, what are they going to do? It's not going to be a first-person shooter. You know, it's a Professor Layton game. Like, there's nothing, it's going to be that. So I will look forward to that whenever it is released on the Switch. I'm also thinking I might try Samba de Amigo. I thought about getting it when it was on the Wii, because then you can shake the controllers like the way you're supposed to. Um, but I've never played a Samba de Amigo game. They seem like they'd be really fun. I'd love it if there was a demo. That would be great. Then I could try a demo of it to see if I like it. But I'm tempted for that one. I also thought it was cool that they're putting Game Boy games on Nintendo Online. But the Game Boy Advance games, which I'd be more inclined to play, are only with the expansion pack. And I don't have the expansion pack. I've never thought about getting the expansion pack. Honestly, if I'm not buying your Nintendo Online expansion pack because you have an Animal Crossing game that comes free with that, if I'm not buying your expansion pack to get that, Animal Crossing, then I'm not getting your expansion pack. Because, like, I don't care about, like, it's like, oh, look, Genesis games, N64 games, Game Boy Advance games, and I'm just like, that's cool, but I don't really play a lot of the NES or SNES games anyway, so I don't know if I'd really care to pay the extra money to have a library of games that I just don't have time to play. Do you know what I mean? But it is cool that they're bringing them out, and that is neat. So, yay. I mean, if they were like, here, you could buy it for like $3, I'd buy a Game Boy Advance game for like $2 or $3. That would be cool. But they won't do that. So yeah, so not a whole lot in there that I'm super excited about. But there will be another. There will be more. So we'll see what the future holds. And then, as I said last episode, I, much to my own surprise, decided to start playing Fallout 4 because it was free with PlayStation Plus as part of the PlayStation Plus collection. There were a bunch of games that I mentioned last week. Download them now while you still can, because it's going away in, I think, May. So Fallout 4 was one of the games that was part of the collection that I hadn't already added to my library, so I added it. And I said, let me download it and see, because as opposed to Fallout 3, where I got all into the hype and I bought it and then didn't like it and never finished it, here it's free. So all it costs me is the time it takes to download, which was not very long, actually. I did it in the background and it happened like that, I feel. And it was like, here, you can play Fallout 4 now. I was like, I'm not ready. So I appreciated in Fallout 4 that it starts you off in the, present day. It's the future. But, so you get to know your wife and your infant son, and they set up your character, and then the bombs go off, and it's horrific, and they set up the plot where your wife is killed and your baby is abducted, so now you have to go look for your baby. And I'm like, okay, that's a pretty good intro. Now I've got to go explore the ruins of Boston and the Commonwealth to try to find my baby. And, I have to say, one thing that delighted me when I was creating my character, there were enough character spaces that I was able to put Christopher instead of just Chris. So I went with Christopher. Not that I ever go by Christopher, but I thought that would be, because they gave me the extra spaces, I took advantage of them. I was like, okay, Christopher. When I get back to my ruined house, hundreds of years after the war, my little robot butler is still hanging around and functional. And he was like, oh, Mr. Christopher. And I was like, wait, you just used my actual name. And I mean, that's incredible that they took this voice actor and like made him say like all of these various names, I'm sure. But it's such a little thing, but the immersion of having a voice actor say your character's name is amazing. Like, that blew me away. It was a little thing, but it blew me away. I do have to complain. I do not like the Pip-Boy. I know the Pip-Boy is like the iconic feature of the Fallout franchise and all, but as an inventory management system, it isn't great. I don't care for it. The map is too small, it's annoying, the inventory system is irritating and obnoxious, and there's tabs within tabs within tabs, and I'm just like, oh my god. Not a fan. Also, I did want to complain about the perk system, which was not explained, like, at all. It's just like, hey, you leveled up, spend your perk point. And I'm like, how? With what do I get? What do I do? And for like the first like 4 or 5 levels, I think I thought I had to fill the first row before I could even go to the second row. So I'm like adding points to the first row. I'm increasing my strength and my endurance and my agility and whatever. But then I was like looking at the other perks to see what they were, you know, just out of curiosity. And I noticed that some of them I could unlock. And I was like, wait, what? And it turns out what I was doing was increasing my base stats, which isn't the worst thing in the world, because you're going to have to go back and do that again later anyway, so that you can unlock the better perks down lower on the grid. So I ended up just doing that in the beginning, which isn't the best way to start, because I would have liked to unlock a couple of the other perks so that I could do things like upgrading my weapons and armor and such. But yeah, I eventually figured it out. The game did not explain that part very well. And then it was off and exploring and the ruined cities and buildings and encountering various people and killing raiders and mutated creatures and such. The first mission that you go on, then you encounter the Minutemen, and that was fine, and I killed the raiders, and I got the power armor, and I killed the big creature with the power armor. That was exciting and thrilling. But then the Minutemen are like, hey, go take care of this settlement over here. And that settlement was like, okay, like, we're being attacked by raiders. They're coming from like the southwest at this place. Go to that plant and take out the raiders for us, and we'll join the Minutemen. I'm like, okay, fine. But it's like all the way over there, and I'm like, why are they coming all the way over here to attack you? But whatever. So I encountered a whole bunch of crap on the way to fill that quest. And one of the things that happened was I found this settlement, and they let me in, and it's very well barricaded, and everybody's acting a little twitchy. And there's this guy named Honest Dan, who seemed like a nice guy and an honest character. And he's like, something sketchy about this. I'm like, yeah, everybody's acting really weird. I don't know what's going on. So like, with his urging, I like went and investigated a couple of different locations to try to figure it out. And then we found this location across the lake. So like, I go to the location across the lake, and then we fight our way through the entire place. And then there's the scientist, and she's like, yeah, we're trying to like prevent these synthetic humans from like taking over. We only want real humans. So that person is a synthetic human. Do you want to pick her? Or do you want to pick humans or synthetics? Like, pick a side. And I was like, wait, what is happening right now? Because the game, it was so piecemeal, like talking to the people in the settlement and then talking to Honest Dan and then doing the little bits. I was just doing what the game told me to do. It was like, go investigate this location. Go investigate that location. And so then I was finding out like what I was, and it was coming in such piecemeal. I'm just like, synthetic humans, what is happening right now? So I had to go online and look it up to explain the story, so I could make an informed decision. And unfortunately, my informed decision was basically, it came down to the fact that like, you can pick the synths and kill the scientist, but then that entire settlement is going to try to kill you if you ever go back there. So the other option was kill the synthetic, pick the doctor, and then you have to kill Honest Dan. And I'm like, well, I'd rather just I feel bad. He was a nice guy, but I'll kill you one person instead of everyone in that settlement, which is not cool. Because also they're just trying to like not be taken over by synthetic humans. So, I mean, they're not wrong, I guess. It does seem like a bad thing, so. But I was a little disappointed at the story, and it's like a cool story point, but I feel like the game didn't really get it across well enough for me to like make an informed decision in the game. And I had to go online and look at message boards and walkthroughs to see like what the hell was actually going on. And then I was surprised when I actually got to the assembly plant to take out the raiders. It was like insane. There were like raiders everywhere. Like I took out the ones on the outside of the building with my sniper rifle and then sneaking around. And I go into the building and it's like they're everywhere. And they're swarming around me and I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like running for my life and almost dying a few times. And I was like, what in the actual hell? And so I paused the game and I went back online again. And people are like, try to explore the northern part of the map first, because as you go south, it gets more difficult and enemies get stronger. And I'm like, but Diamond City's down here and this place is over here. So like, how is this so hard. Like the mission is literally called The First Step, and it's hard. And people were online going like, I'm level 10 and I'm like having my ass handed to me, and I'm like, dude, I'm like 6, like level 6, like what is happening? I was like 6 or 7. But in running away from the raiders, I found a staircase and I went up to another part of the plant where there were some more raiders, and there was a guy named Jared. And I'm like, well, he must be the leader. Crap, I won't be able to defeat him if I can't take out his minions. But they were stuck on a platform. Jared was stuck up on a platform, and I was able to like hide behind a thing and then like come around and like shoot at him sometimes and then hide again and heal myself and then jump out and shoot him again. And I eventually did take him out. And once I killed Jared, the game was like, okay, you've defeated the raiders and completed the mission, return back and report your success. And I'm like, oh, so I don't have to kill everybody. I really just had to kill him. So that was easy. Okay. So I just, looted the space and then headed off and did my thing. So I'm still a little wary of the difficulty level because that was a huge spike. I also, in my working my way towards Diamond City, because I'm like, let me try the actual plot. It's been like a week. Let me try to do the next actual story mission. So I came across this building, and I go inside the building, and there's like bags of gore right inside the front door. So I'm like, well, that's probably not good. And I found a locked door that I picked, and I went in the back, and there's this huge scary mutant guy who's like, get out of here. I tried to kill him, barely did any damage. He set off an alarm. 20 more of him come running in and swarm me and kill me dead. So I'm like, okay, we'll reload from an earlier save and not go in there until we're like level 80. Because no. So that's the problem with these open world games, is that you can find yourself going down a path where there's like a massive difficulty spike. But this just seemed wrong, that it was so difficult of a mission for the very first Minutemen mission. Like, what? So now, like, I did that, and now they're like, oh, we want you to lead the Minutemen. I'm like, okay. Because they seem like a good, heroic organization, so I like them. They're just shit because there's like 3 Minutemen left. But they're like, okay, the next mission is to go over to this settlement and clear it out and make it okay for people to live there again. And I'm like, how hard is that going to be now? Because that first one was incredibly difficult. Like, maybe I should be like level 20 before I think to do another Minutemen mission. Ugh. But I was like, that can wait. I'm going to Diamond City because I want to do a story mission. Like, it's been over a week. It's been a full week, and I have not actually done a story mission since the first one. So, enough side stuff. Let's move the story along and see what happens next. And I literally last night just made it to Diamond City. The gate opened. I walked in. Some guys started talking, but I had to pause the game because it was time for dinner. So, come back next episode and see if I've continued the story, or if I've gotten distracted by side quests, or if I've given up because it got too difficult, or what. We don't know. Come back and find out. Bye!